Good morning, good morning. Welcome to day 3. If this is your first time watching one of these videos, good morning, welcome. I'm Carolia, and this is day 3 of me recording a video of me exercising to help me keep accountable as I go through this recommitment to regular exercise. All right, so we're at day 3. Excitement! So today we're gonna talk about finding out and doing what works for you. All right, we're gonna figure out and do what works for you. I'm gonna use this next few minutes to just kind of go over my whole journey as it relates to weight loss and exercising. And the whole point of the story is that you will see that over time, things change as it relates to what type of exercises I do, if I even exercise at all. And I'm hoping that this will help you to decide for yourself what is it that works for you when it comes down to exercising and how you go about getting it started. So just want to make the point that things change, and that's just how life is. So here's my story. So as I mentioned in the first video, I started my weight loss journey back when I was in high school. I was in the 9th grade. I was really overweight, and I guess, you know, as an early teen, in your early teens, you're like trying to figure out who you are as a woman, as a teenager, and you know, you start to come up with your own perceptions of yourself, your own perceptions of what beauty looks like, and all of that. And as an impressionable teen, I was like, I don't like being overweight. Most of my friends are not. I think they look cute. Then you also watch a lot of TV, and that also helped to mold what your idea of what looks good look like. Because in my teenage years, I don't think I was thinking about health when I started to lose weight. I just wanted to not look the way I looked anymore. And as I mentioned before, some of the comments and embarrassing things that you go through when you're overweight, I was like, I just don't want to have to deal with that anymore. That was not what I wanted for me anymore. And so in the 9th grade, what I did was I basically reduced my eating. And that was how I first started losing weight. Like, I literally just cut my portions in half, or just significantly reduce my portion. Like, I would literally get my dinner and I would put half of it back in the pot. This is not something like my parents or family or anyone knew about. I was just doing it as my own personal way. In my mind, I was like, well, fat has to do with eating, so if I eat less, then I'll be less fat. That was my basic interpretation of my situation at the time. And I was like, okay, just eat less. And that's exactly what I did. I remember even like if I was at school and I had lunch, if I was having some food and some drinks for lunch, I'd just have the food and not bother with the drinks, or something to that effect. I would just have half or significantly less in terms of what I was eating. I remember those days specifically, going home, sharing myself a regular size of plate, how I'm used to eating, and then just scooping back half the rice in the pot and be like, okay, this is dinner. And that was how I lost weight when I was in high school. It wasn't until after high school that, and I would say probably in my 20s, that I started to do exercising. So initially, my weight loss was just reducing my portion or reducing my intake. Now, that lasted until my early 20s, because once you start practicing to eat less, your body gets used to eating less. And it's like, as soon as I started eating, after a while, I was full. So I just ate really small portions for a long time, and that was how I kept the weight off. Then as I got into my 20s, I moved on to walking. Walking is my favorite exercise. It's usually some form of street walk, meaning I'm walking somewhere out on the street. I love to just put my exercise clothes on, pop some music in my ear, and I'll start walking. I can walk from here to Africa, but don't ask me to run or other things. So walking was my thing. And I did that in my early to mid 20s and just kept going with walking. In addition to walking, I know I've gone on to different hikes at different times, but in general, walking was my thing. I remember when I used to have a friend who would say, you know, let's get up in the mornings and walk. Morning has always been the easiest thing for me because you wake up, you're energized. Like right now, I wake up, I'm energized, I'm ready to go. Before breakfast, before anything, I have this energy when I wake up. But yeah, so that was what I did for many years. There's this place in Portmore called Brayton Hill. If you're familiar with that, drop a thumbs up in the comments. But I used to go there. It's like a little mountain, I guess you want to say. And then I used to walk up that hill in the mornings. And so for a while, if I wasn't walking, you know, in our housing scheme or walking in the community, I would sometimes walk up to that mountain and climb the hill. When I moved here to the United States, I was in my late 20s, and I just kept up with walking. Again, get up in the mornings, walk, or I would do it in the evenings when the sun went down. So whether mornings or evenings were better for me, that's what I did. Then I remember like a few months after I got married, which would be like 2017 into 2018, you know, I remember there was a point in time where I had 2 jobs and I was going to school, right? I was doing school online. At that point in time, I stopped exercising for a while because my days entailed getting up early, running to one job, when the job is finished, running to another, and I just felt like I didn't have any time. And then when I came home, I tried to find some time to study, you know, before going to bed. It was really, really hard, and so exercising for a while. And then we moved here to Missouri, and I remember I was job hunting because we moved here because that's in 2019. We moved here because my husband got a job here, and so we moved here. And so when we moved, I now needed to find a job, and I felt like I was a little bit stressed because it took a while. It took me about 3-4 months to find a job after we moved here. And I remember I was up late at night, like researching jobs and putting in applications online, and I'd be up late, so of course I'm eating late, and you know, I wasn't exercising as much. But I'm not just even talking about just those 4 months. You know, between 2015, me moving here, I want to say between maybe 2017 to 2019. So for that 2-year period, I was very lacking when it comes down to exercising. And then, like I said, you know, not just that stressful time when I was job hunting after we moved here, but prior to that, I was just had different things that I was going through that was very stressful. And for the first time in my life, I was experiencing some things that I never even experienced back home in Jamaica. And all of that stress led to changes in my sleep pattern. I was up all night. If you're up and you're hungry at 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock, you're gonna be eating. You know, so different things like that happened over a period of time, and that's what led me to be going back to, okay, I need to, you know, go on a detox, and I need to start exercising. And that was like a roller coaster. So after years of being like really disciplined with diet and exercising, you know, life just took different turns. I was going through different things. Sometimes it was just being tired from working and going to school and everything, and I just didn't have the energy, or felt like I didn't have the time. And I think the biggest thing for me was just learning how to manage it all, because part of you might feel like you don't have the time to do certain things, but every day we make time for other things. We make time for social media, we make time for movies, we make time for other things. But we find it so hard to make time for ourselves. And that's a problem. That really is a problem. We ought to get to the point where if we can make the choice to make time for other things, we need to get into the habit of making time and making the choice to make time for ourselves and what's important, like our health, which is the reason I exercise and a great benefit of exercising. So anyway, fast forward to, we moved here, told you about that stressful period, job hunting, you know, all of that. Then I was like, okay, I got a job. It's July now after moving here, three or so months after moving here. Like, okay, I got a job. I'm going to work and finding time in the evenings to exercise. And I started another recommitment to getting my weight down at that point in time. 2 weeks after I started that job, I found out I was pregnant. And I was what a Jamaican would call frightened. After I found out I was pregnant. A person who is frightened is a person who something good has just happened to them and they feel so good about it that they start doing stupid things. So the stupid things for me in my pregnancy was that I overate and I threw exercise out the door. And I was like, after this baby, I can go back to exercising. So I went through another period, that 9 whole months of bad habits, poor choices, not exercising, gaining a lot of weight in addition to natural baby weight. And then after I had the baby, I was like, I'm gonna go right back to exercising and everything's gonna be fine. Well, didn't happen like that because I was still in pain for about 6 more months after giving birth. And it felt like an eternity and it was really hard. And my son is 2 now, but I want to say it took me an entire year after giving birth to him to lose the weight, right? And notice I said my son is 2 years, and when he was 1 year old, I lost the weight, right? So how am I here again? Because life is a roller coaster. And I think, whereas in the past, I used to just have all the time in the world to be super focused, it became a lot more challenging as I got older, as I have more responsibilities, as I became a mom and wife and had a lot of things to do. You know, life changes, responsibilities change. When you're up at nights all night with a baby or several hours, when morning comes, you're like, I'm not trying to get up to exercise. The dynamics of everything change. And I'm like, how do I do this? How do I do that? How do I figure out, you know? So there are times where I just had to take a break, either because of the physical pain or I'm just like physically tired. And I'm like, okay, I got to learn how to, you know, get my baby into a routine, learn how to take care of him properly. And sometimes I felt guilty because I felt like I was using it as an excuse, but I really felt like I just couldn't do anything. I was tired. I was lack of sleep, stressed about every little thing. I had anxiety, was a pandemic raging, and I'm thinking I'm gonna have to go back to work and put my baby in daycare, and you just have all these little things that you don't have to think about. Point I'm making is that stresses of life are so much different when you're younger than when you're an adult, and it affected me in different ways, and I had to learn how to manage those things and how to still make time for taking care of myself and doing those things that are important, like exercising. But the roller coaster of life had me sometimes in the race of exercise, sometimes not. All right, so at 1, I lost, at my son being 1, I lost the weight. And then a thing that we tend to do when we don't make healthy eating and exercising a lifestyle, when we get out of the habit of making it a lifestyle, it now becomes challenges, 30-day challenges, and something we do for a month or 2, and then we get off track. So I lost the weight, felt great, And then I stopped being consistent. And so I gained weight again. Then I would say, okay, let me get recommitted. Then I'll go back to doing good. I'll lose weight. And then, you know, so it becomes a roller coaster. Sometimes on, sometimes up, sometimes down, you know? So let's get to today. I'm telling myself that this is my last time I'm recommitting to this because I've decided that it's important for me, for my life, for my health. I've already told you that I've gotten some not so great updates from my doctors about my health that's directly related to me being overweight, right? Right now, I'm not at a terrible place. I'm only like maybe 15 pounds away from what is considered, actually, I'm actually good weight. According to BMI, I'm supposed to be, last time I checked, your BMI, your body mass index is something, body mass index is something you can look up on Google. It basically gives a recommendation that based on your age and height and gender, the recommended weight is whatever it is for you. So I'm really only a few pounds away outside of what I'm supposed to be. So my goal is not just about losing a ton of weight. It's about developing a healthy habit for a healthier life, right? So I'm not here trying to lose a lot of weight. I just want to bring myself back from the edge of excess and to continue to do that because consistency is key. Because every time I lose weight, I feel like, yay, great, and I stop and I head right back down the hill and having to start exercising again and going back up the hill. So I'm tired of that roller coaster. So this recommitment is really, hopefully, my last recommitment. So how do I exercise on a day like today? In my last video I shared, or my first video, I shared that I used to go for walks every day when I go to work in my lunchtime. I take a lunch break, I clock out, I walk, I come back, I get back to work. Of course, I have a change of clothes and everything to make sure that I can clean up and feel fresh and good and continue working, right? But I also shared that last year I decided to take my child out of daycare. And so now I work from home three days a week and go into office 2 days a week. So the ability to clock out at lunchtime and walk, that is now gone. I'm only able to do that 2 days a week, depending on what's happening. So right now it's after 6 in the morning. It's 6:15 thereabout in the morning. Why? Because I'm changing that plan to waking up early in the mornings on those 3 days where I'm working from home. I wake up early in the mornings and exercise. At this hour, my son's asleep and I don't have to contend with him and I can exercise in peace. So that is what works for me now. In the past, it was like last year, what worked for me was clocking out at lunchtime. Before that, what worked for me is walking morning or evening or any time of day I wanted to because I had that freedom because I was a single woman. Now that my life has all kind of different components, like being a mom, wife, worker, business owner, this, that, all the things I'm doing, I have to decide what time is gonna work for me, what type of situation is gonna work for me. In the past, I used to be able to exercise or walk for an hour and a half. I now realize I don't have that much time. So I'm now doing a 45-minute walk every morning. Doctors recommend move for 30 minutes every day, 3 or more times per week, right? So my goal is 45 minutes, 5 days a week. Of course, based on my experience in exercise, that's gonna change over time because you're gonna get certain results up to a certain point if you keep doing the same thing every day. At some point, you have to make changes in what you're doing if you wanna continue to see results. But for now, this is what works for me. Now, someone gave a question yesterday, you know, how do they find time to exercise? Because they're basically working 12 or 13-hour shifts and they're just tired. Well, you know, Let us say you are working those 12 and 13-hour shifts, but what do you do with the time outside of that 12 or 13-hour shift? Most of us come home and we you might cook dinner or whatever, or you might buy yourself something to eat, however you do. Some of us watch the movie, some of us spend some time scrolling on Facebook. How hard would it be to decide that, okay, when I come home, I'm gonna have a snack in the form of a energy bar or a banana or whatever it is that you do, and I'm gonna just change into some workout clothes and I'm gonna do 30 minutes of exercise. How big of a change is that for you? 30 minutes. Of course, if you can do more. And by the way, as I'm sharing with you, this is me sharing my personal thoughts. I'm sharing with you what works for me. At the end of the day, you have to decide what works for you. But just want to have this disclaimer out there. I'm not a medical professional in any way. So I would always recommend that you consult your doctor before you start exercising if it's not something you're accustomed to, or if you have any health conditions, bone issues, body aches, anything that could prevent you from from doing this, or that could cause you to get further injury. Always consult your doctor first. I'm not a doctor or a medical professional in any way. This is me sharing with you, just like I've learned from other persons sharing with me. All right, so back to that 30 minutes. I know you say you have that 12 or 13-hour shift, but how hard would it be to say, when I come home in the evenings, put my bag down, whatever, I'm gonna eat me an energy bar, have me a ripe banana, whatever your energy drink, whatever your pre-workout snack needs to be, or maybe you had lunch a couple hours ago before you left work and you don't need to eat. How hard would it be to say, for half an hour, for me, walking is the easiest thing. And I know I'm walking on a treadmill, but me, I just go out on the street and walk when I'm ready. But guess what? We can get even easier than that. Turn on YouTube, find you some exercise video. If you haven't exercised in a while, or you haven't ever really been on any disciplined routine, start with something easy. Google, or you look up on YouTube, exercise for beginners, home exercise for beginners. There are a ton of videos on home exercises, exercises without equipment, exercise for people with, bad knees and whatever, low impact exercises. There are so many options out there. I've used quite a few of them, and in fact, if you continue to rock with me, you'll probably see me use some, right? How hard is it to come home, whip out that same phone that you use for social media and other things? How hard is it to just whip it out, find you a 15-minute video and run it twice, find you a half an hour video and run it once, and just decide to do that 3 or more times per week? Come on, guys. If you can scroll social media for hours, if you can watch a 1 hour and a half movie, a 2-hour movie, and whatever else, fill in the blank, whatever other things, activities that you do and make the time for. If you can do that, you can definitely make the choice to make 30 minutes for your day, for yourself. Everyone, you've heard my story, everyone has to decide for themselves what's gonna work best for them. I don't know your individual situation. As life changes, I've decided to change with it. Sometimes morning, sometimes evening, sometimes an hour and a half. Right now, I'm only able to do 45 minutes, and I'm taking it because it's important to me. I'm taking that opportunity. Question is, how important is your health and fitness to you? How important is it to you? Be honest. They say in life, if you want to know what someone's priority is, or priorities are, look what they spend their time and money on. When was the last time you bought you some exercise clothes? And let's stop talking about the money, because you can exercise in anything, okay? Especially when we're talking about exercising at home. You can exercise in anything. So what's it gonna be? What's important to you? All of us can make the time because we make the time for other things. Find out what works for you. Get started and don't stop. Let me know how it's working for you. Comment down below what works for you. Give us some suggestions because other persons are learning from it too, not just me. I was happy to see persons commenting, but share as well what your experience is, because other people, your testimony has power. Your own life and the things that you go through is for a reason, and as we share together, we'll help each other. Thank you for being with me. You're gonna see a little video of me finishing up day 3. I'll see you tomorrow for day 4. Have a great day. Bye-bye.